FM.
Dankeschön. You know, after all the recent bad news of CEOs more crooked than their company stock graph, congressional ethics violations, economic turmoil, and natural disasters, nice to get some good news this week and hear the police freed those two teenagers and shot that psycho fuck to death. You know, I think getting sick of bringing morons like this back alive and then wasting all our bread trying to figure out if they weren't coddled when they were babies. Glad they wasted this slug. You know, I think we owe a great deal of gratitude to the quick work of the police in the instituting in the new California system the Amber Alert system, where electronic freeway signs across the state of California made everyone aware of the car and the license plate they were looking for. So why has it taken us so long to adapt our gadgetry to a high-tech town crier to protect our children? We use technology for so many trivial things in our society. We've got lighted signs telling you the number of empty spaces in the parking lots. You've got toilets that sense when you're done. You know, I don't even know when I'm done most of the time. You know, being that this works so well in California, maybe the federal government needs to put down their summer recess travel brochures, stay in Washington a few extra days, and coordinate a nationwide system on the interstates instead of signs for the mystery spot where things roll uphill and the world's largest petrified onion ring. How's about some Blade Runner plasma screens to digitally tack up these mega predators wanted posters before they even stop for gas? And if you think that's too big brother, well, you obviously don't have a little sister. You know, I am overjoyed that they shot this guy. I just wish the justice system was always this efficient. As a matter of fact, my only regret is that he's dead now and he can't appeal the decision so we could undeadify him and shoot the fucker again. Let's, like start off with a happy story sometime. Well, I'm sorry, I've been broken down. There's so many sick bastards in this world. I think we just have to lay waste to some of them. You know, let's see what's new in the world this week. President Bush has agreed to discuss the aftermath of the September 11th terrorist attacks on 60 Minutes 2. The president couldn't get on 60 Minutes 1? I guess they're afraid an interview with the nation's leader might cut into Annie Rudy's 6.5-minute screed on manual typewriters. And a spokesman for the Catholic Church said Monday that 23 of the 200 Cuban youngsters who attended the World Youth Conference last week have decided not to return to Cuba. You hear that, Fidel? Your country is so fucked up now that kids are seeking refuge with Catholic priests. The NBA on Monday approved the use of instant replay cameras for maximum player coverage. The cameras will be placed behind the net, above the court, and in the West Philadelphia apartment of Allen Iverson's cousin. After being trapped underground for 77 hours, 9 workers were pulled from the mine in Pennsylvania this week. The men were said to be in good condition, although millions of Americans had to be treated for shock after being unable to remember how to process good news. See, the company said they were going to pay them for the time they were underground. There's some good PR there, huh? What wizard came up with that announcement? Is that the new Coke guy working down there now? Wildlife agents assured some would-be rescuers that the 6 manatees beached on the Florida coast this week were not endangered, just taking a break from the amorous attention of pursuing male manatees. Silly manatee chicks. Don't you know a little sand on the ass just makes them want you more? Don't be such a manatees. See those America West pilot whales this week, brutal. The head of the Canadian Space Agency, Marc Garneau, put a challenge to the Canadian space exploration community this week to go to Mars. Then he and the rest of the Canadian space exploration community climbed into a Ford Focus, and his mom drove them to Applebee's to discuss the details. Astronomers now say that a giant asteroid that they thought could crash into the Earth will instead pass us by. If anyone wants to buy an underground bunker equipped with Sensurround DVD and 8,000 can of Beanie Weenies, just call me after the show, okay? Whose phone is that? Let me have that. We'll talk to somebody on TV. Is that you, honey? That's your friend's phone? My wife's friend is fucking up my show? You light up my life, baby. With the help of a surrogate mother, 2 men in Kentucky this week became the first gay couple ever to become parents of quadruplets. The children are said to be healthy. Indeed, they're said to be bordering on fabulous. And what's with being gay in Kentucky, by the way? Get thee to a gay state. It's not like you got enough shit hitting the fan when you're gay in Kentucky. You want to be the gay couple with quads. Pentagon planners say they are exploring the possibility of striking Baghdad first as a possible option in the war against Iraq. Other options include a land invasion from neighboring Turkey and a top-secret pre-dawn attack on Thursday, January 23rd at 3:37 a.m. In response to the plans, an array of experts warned a Senate committee this week that an invasion of Iraq would carry significant risks, including more terrorist attacks on America as well as higher gas prices. Well, suppose we just annihilate them and take all their oil. Huh? Isn't that a win-win? Yeah. Why is it we can blow a giant gaping hole in the war on terrorism while the incessant war on drugs is taking longer to solve than Tara Reid finishing the New York Times Sunday crossword? Now, I don't want to get off on a rant here, but the war on drugs is a more frustrating stalemate than a tug-of-war on ice. While DEA seizures are higher than ever, so is anyone who wants to be. You know, the drug war has apparently worked to some degree as both casual use and addiction have fallen in recent years, but at what cost? Now, instead of junkies, cokeheads, and glue sniffers, we have coffee-addled superachievers who'd sooner mow you down in the mall parking lot with their SUV dreadnoughts than drop the speedometer below 70 mph. Say what you will about drug addicts, but at least they move slowly. You know, it's... Huh? I even think I could dodge an Ozzy Osbourne punch. You know, it's time to change our way of thinking and take the war on drugs out of the political hot-button campaign topics. There is a percentage of our society that will always, always be addicted to something, whether it's cocaine, pills, beer, cigarettes, or that new car smell. You know, countries Countries like Peru, Colombia, and Bolivia produce and export drugs because their only other economic alternatives do not bring in nearly enough money. That means if we really want to stem the tide of drugs from south of the border, there is only one painful but necessary course of action. We as a nation must resolve to dramatically increase our consumption of wooden donkey carvings and armadillo-shaped piñatas. Now, honestly, I don't know what the answer is, but I would like to ask the people of Colombia something. Between marijuana, coffee, and cocaine, do you think it might be possible to grow a crop that doesn't delude people into believing they actually have something interesting to say? Drug traffickers, guys who use drugs are... drug traffickers. Now I'm so proud of myself, I can't go on. Drug traffickers are consummate businessmen. They have identified a demand, efficiently routed their infrastructure to fulfill it, and profited by exploiting the gap between cheap production and materials and high retail premiums. Their methodology is indistinguishable from that of a successful United States corporation, except for, in this day and age, they might be a bit more ethical. You know, every generation has had their drugs of choice. In the 60s, it was pot and LSD. In the disco era, it was coke. The 80s had crack. And in the 90s, we had crystal meth and ecstasy. Nowadays, well, now we have pot, LSD, coke, crack, crystal meth, and ecstasy. You know, cocaine still plays an enormous part in our culture. Without it, stock traders could not put in 75-hour work weeks, and interstate truckers would deliver a lot more spoiled fruit. More importantly, there would be no second act segment in those true Hollywood stories. You know, there are a lot of campaigns out there trying to prevent young people from getting into drugs in the first place. Unfortunately, teens tend to view these groups as uptight Puritans who haven't had fun since they outlawed the witch trials. The zero tolerance people are the same ones who tell you not to listen to hip-hop, not to play violent video games, and to remain a virgin until after you're married. And anyone who believes that the average teenager will sit for that is on better weed than their kids. You know, the anti-drug campaigns have attacked the airwaves with images of frying eggs and terrorist bombings. Everything I need to know about drugs, I learned from a poignant 15-second PSA where the guy from Yes Dear pulls up a chair and sits in it backward. Kids, that's when you know they're leveling with you. When they turn that chair on, they're getting very street with you, brother. Here's a thought. Maybe you should get someone in on these campaigns who actually understands kids. Kids want to be bad. You need little Jimmy to stop smoking pot? Show him the picture of his 8th grade history teacher prancing around a Dead concert in a tie-dyed loincloth. He'll never look at marijuana again. Or the War of 1812, for that matter. You know, you can make a reasonable case that we shouldn't legalize the most deadly and addictive of the world's narcotics. How can you possibly justify arresting elderly women, though, for smoking marijuana to ease their glaucoma, or even more desperately ill patients smoking it to ease their final days? You know, my wish for the politicians who put their own careers ahead of the quality of life of ill and dying human beings is that someday, when they go to receive their final judgment, the first words out of God's mouth are, "Dude, way harsh." You know, I say if you really want to discourage people from doing drugs, legalize everything for a year and encourage people to experiment. The smart people will sit back and barricade themselves in their homes while all the drink-the-bong-water jagoffs go to town, mixing industrial-grade sealant and horse tranquilizers into a hookah and smoking it. I guarantee you, before the year is up, we'll have dramatically thinned the herd, and who knows, maybe some of the more demented stoners will mix so many weird chemicals they'll stumble onto a cure for cancer in their pursuit of a buzz that could win the Nobel Peace Pipe. Of course, that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. You know, I want to know what you think, America. Give me a call at 1-800-522-8673 with his emphasis on treatment and education, along with an aggressive enforcement policy. My guest tonight has created quite a buzz in Washington, the legal kind, of course. Please welcome the director of the nation's Drug Enforcement Administration, Asa Hutchinson. Well, first off, I should tell you that I appreciate you coming on because I think in the past, listen, I'm not a pro-drug person. I just think sometimes our solutions are a little simplistic. And I think it's a nice touch that you would even consider coming on a show like this, because I would think in the past certain shows like this would be thought to be a more aberrant forum. So I think it's a nice gesture that you would even come here. But now, let me tell you this. I've been canceled, and I'm not doing the research I used to. Are you pro or anti-drug? I'm kidding. I won't even make you ask.
I'm here because you got a great audience.
Yeah, well, listen, first off, I want to ask you, I noticed that you're surrounded by guys tonight. I think out of all the jerk-off jobs you can have in politics, you've actually taken a challenge that I find admirable. I take it you're a family man. I've seen you interviewed before, and you seem to be a... what prompted you, man? What made you want to dive in this far and fight for this cause like this?
Probably because I am a parent, 4 kids, great kids. I've got a grandson coming up, and so it's about our future, and so I've seen it from all perspectives. And I left Congress, not because I was defeated, because I believe in what we're doing here. And I really appreciate what you had to say. I think it creates a debate. I think you've got a lot of reasonable approaches. Few things wrong in your rant, but not too bad. But, you know, put it in perspective, though, on our policy. Anytime you have a drug policy that limits illegal drug use to less than 5% of the population, I think something is working right.
Yes.
Whenever you look at the fact that we've reduced overall drug use by 50% in the last 20 years, 9 million people fewer using drugs or illegal drugs on a regular basis today than 20 years ago. That's good stuff. And so I think we're doing some things right, but we've got to look for those new ideas to help the young people through education. We're concentrating on that. The treatment programs as an alternative to incarceration.
Let me ask you this, Asa.
You don't like my rant?
No, listen, I like your rant, but I think we got to cut to the chase. There's some jagoffs, some morons, some idiots in the world that don't have the nerve to put their brains on the wall, want to kill themselves slowly with drugs. Why do we waste time and money stopping them? Well, I'm just serious. Some people are going to get high. You could come back to this planet 2 million years from now. People are still want to get laid and get high, some of them. And I always wonder, why don't we, you know, some of them are just going to off themselves in the long run and save us a lot of money. Why don't you let them?
Well, we are going to have this battle for a long time. As long as you have teenagers and depression and greed, you're going to have a fight. Every generation is with illegal drugs.
If you let a big contingent of adult America begin to decimate themselves, don't you have a better case to take to the young people of America? I watch Ozzy Osbourne, I'll be honest with you. I find the show delish on one level, and on another level I think, wow, what a beautiful anti-drug message. Because this guy seems to be a loving dad. I don't sense that he's a bad man. I sense he really cares about his kids, and he's looking at him saying, hey, do you want this for yourself? Christ, look at me. I can't eat my fucking French toast.
And that's the message. That's a good message. But the answer as to why we just don't let people consume drugs, first of all, they hurt other people. But secondly, we're a compassionate nation. We don't want to say, well, we're just going to leave this segment of society there to destroy themselves. Well, for the same reason that we want to have compassion on anyone who needs medicine, as you said.
Yes, but can't compassion wear many faces, Asa? I'm saying at some point, can't you, like, let people know that you'll be there for them when they want to save themselves? But until that very second, why try to influence them? I just think some people are not going to stop doing this, and then there are other people who deserve the money. I look at disenfranchised people or people in inner-city mothers who have 4 children. They've been left by a guy, and I think, why don't they get double the bread? I hear these stories, they get $600 a month. You think, Christ, who can live on that? Why don't we take $600 off the guy we're buying fresh needles for and give it to them? And if this guy wants to croak himself, fine. And if he doesn't want to croak himself, and if he wants to find his way, put him on this side and take care of him. That's all I'm saying.
That's a mouthful there. Well, whenever you're looking at someone that is consumed with heroin, you've got two choices. Let them leave them on the street corner, let them ruin their life and rot away, or you can try to help them. We've got hundreds of faith-based organizations that are trying to work with that person to get them through treatment, get them restored to their family. I think that's what America is all about. Europe's taking a little bit different direction. In some of the countries over there, they'll take that addict and say, well, let's just get you off the street and we'll give you your heroin, we'll give you an injection room just so you don't embarrass us in society. And I don't think that's the high ground that we should have in America, that we try to help people. That's what America's about.
Do you not see, though, that many of the problems in our culture are falling through the cracks because of the assumption by the high moral ground by anybody? That is a big deficiency in this culture, that anybody assumes they should seize the high moral ground. We're all just human beings. We're stumbling around in the dark. Many of us kick our toes every night on a bed table, you know? Nobody knows what they're doing. And I think when people say, I'm going to assume the high ground and save this guy, what if the guy who's being saved says, fuck you, I don't want to be saved? I mean, do you owe it to him to keep forcing him to be saved?
No, and obviously, you know, if he rejects treatment, there's not a whole lot you can do with that.
What about old people who need it for glaucoma and stuff like that? Do you believe in that, or do you think that compromises the whole system? I'm sorry to jump there, but I just got a 2-minute thing. Yeah, I had to pull a bat turn. They gave me the 2-minute thing. So
same compassion. We want to provide medicine to people who need it. The American Academy of Ophthalmologists has not approved that as medicine. The American Medical Association has not. We've always in our country listened to doctors and scientists on this, and it's the FDA approval process. We shouldn't make an exception because people want to smoke.
What if the old person says to you, listen, I'm trying to leverage this through and use the medical reason as a cudgel, but the simple fact is I'm going blind and I like to catch a buzz here and there. Do you have any compassion for that?
Well,
what if they just say, you know, my life's in the shitter. I'm like 75. I'm going to be blind soon, and I'd like to see some colors before I go.
And that's where you have a lot of law enforcement discretion. That's why you don't have any of those type of people that are in jail. You have law enforcement
A little
people.
leeway. We let them slide once in a while. Let me ask you this. You got 4 kids. You have your public pronouncements, and you have to, in a way, be very stern there. But you know stern doesn't always work with kids. What are you telling your kids? Because I've got kids coming up, and I want them to be drug-free. And I'm wondering, what do you think is the best thing you can tell your kids about drugs?
Be honest, talk to them about it. Don't overstate the problems. Be very factual, because you know scare tactics don't work. You just got to lay it out with them, and they're going to struggle in life. You got to be there for them. You've got to, as I know you do, you spend time with them, and that's probably the most important ingredient for it. You work with them. They're gonna struggle in these things, but teenagers have a way of trying to make the right decision. But whether they legalize it or not, teenagers are always going to be a difficulty where it's not going to be acceptable for them to use it.
Well, I'll tell you this, man. One thing about it is having a strong parental figure you can admire. I think most jobs in politics are complete narcissistic bullshit. I don't know if were you a senator before or a representative?
Member of Congress from Arkansas.
Well, what you've done here must make your kids so proud of you, because I think you're actually putting something on the line. And I think the House of Representatives is a big fucking cocktail party guys who, you know, couldn't master an instrument, so they went in there to meet chicks. And but what you're doing, I mean, you know, your kids obviously must be so proud of you, because you're doing something that is a big task and a scary task. And I admire you stepping up to the plate, man. We don't agree on everything, but I admire your courage. Asa Hutchinson, ladies and gentlemen. Not instilling confidence in the economy is the sight of President Bush hovering around Washington intersections with a spray bottle and a chamois. Hey, ladies, my name's George W. As in W your pleasure, W your fun. And if you vote for me in 2004, I promise to give America the best concession speech you've ever heard. I'm going to check out the younger gals now. If that doesn't work out, I'll come back to you at last call, baby. All right, Sergey, I'm going to be blunt. Our country is starving and you are fat. I want answers, and I want them now. Cartufi's friends preferred not to give him the satisfaction of watching him while he was being an asshole to his monkey. Wait, let me guess. Is it Uncle Jimmy? Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez is always prepared to prove himself in the ensuing frenzy of chaos and disbelief when he's just announced the number of calories in a scone. Forget India, Pervez. You should nuke your barber, baby. After seeing what their coworkers had to go through, the new method preferred by coal miners is to cruise around town, hoping to find spare coal on the berm of the road. Belinka sometimes forgot if she was Muslim or Hindi, gay or straight, man or woman, fish or fowl. And this pebble here, son, this one came from my vacation in Rajasthan. You see, we don't need a TV to have fun. Very few people knew the secret to Claudia's homemade Italian salad dressing. Fred didn't say anything until Sister Mary came around to be patted down for the 5th time. While placing an order for pork belly futures, Edvard excitedly blurted out, "She's buried in the lake!" Dwayne would always make a really big deal about it when his wife sent him out for milk during the game. Gary thought something was wrong when he noticed the priest didn't have a church and was naked under his terry cloth robe. Not getting as much press in Pennsylvania this week was Ernesto Diaz, a miner trapped only 3 feet underground. And finally, after pounding glass after glass of creme de menthe, Senator Ted Kennedy always tries the finger to the nose sobriety test before he heads out. Guess what, folks? That's the news. I'm out of here.